Hello all, let's continue from where we left off in our very first video. We started with the topic percentages. Let's try to solve more questions to gain more knowledge, but more importantly, following our main goal and objective, that is, trying to solve without using any formulas. Let's look at this question. A student has to secure 40% marks to pass. He gets 90 marks and fails by 10 marks. Another student scores 60% marks. Find the maximum. In this question, you could see he gets 90 marks. Okay. He got failed by 10 marks. But what does it actually say? If he would have got that 10 more marks, he would have passed the exam. So if you add 10 to 90, which is 100, so this is the mark he needs to pass the exam. Why this answer is very important? Because they have given in the question he has to secure 40% marks to pass. So what does it mean? This 100 is nothing but 40% pass mark. So with this pattern, if you think at our earlier video, a short video where we explained about the deeper concept of percentages, you could try to come up with certain conclusions. So here 40% is 100. So what is your 10%? So when 40% becomes 10%, so literally you are dividing it into four parts, isn't it? So what happens to 100? 100 becomes 25. Okay, so find the maximum marks. So that's the question asked. So maximum marks you could very well understand, that is 100%. So now when 10% is 25, you could very well say 100% should be 250. So this is your answer. Let's try to verify this answer using our AI platform Gemini. So let me copy the question. See, the maximum marks are 250. So our answer is correct. So we were able to solve this question without using any kind of formulas. Along with this solving this question, so I also thought an approach like using our AI tool Gemini, we could actually prepare some kind of a quiz. Like I could basically pull 10 similar questions and we could try to solve this along. I would try to solve in the same video so that it will be a good practice for you all. Let's do that. So I'm going to prepare a chat prompt. As you could see here, I have given a prompt in such a way that it could basically give you 10 similar questions in the same pattern so that we could solve it in this video. Okay, so we got the desired 10 questions. It's taking some time to load. Okay, here we go. So let's look at our first question. So we'll use a whiteboard to solve the questions. Okay. So I'll clean up the board. A student has to secure 35% marks to pass. He gets 40 marks and fails by 30. Find the maximum marks. So here he gets 40 and fails by 30. This is similar to our first question. So he got 40. If he would have got that 30, he would have passed. So 40 and 30 is 70. And that 70 is our 35% pass mark. Okay. So we got a pattern here. Now think of this pattern. 35% is 70. So what is 70%? It's like doubling the percentage. So when you double 70, which is 140, right? So now you could come up with a similar thing. When 70% is 140, 10% is 20, right? So now you need the maximum marks, that is 100%. So when 10% is 20, 100% is 200. So we'll check if our answer is correct. Yes, so we got the right answer. Let's go to the next question. In an examination, okay, well, let me copy the question. Sorry, just give me a second. So I'll clean up the board. In an examination, the candidate must secure 40% marks. He got 220 and failed by 20. What are the maximum marks? So now 220, what he got? If you'd have got that 20, he would have passed. So this becomes 240. So our 240 is our 40% pass mark. So now think of our pattern. 40% is 240, so 10% is 60. So maximum marks, which is 100%, your 100% is 600. Let's check the answer. See, you got it right. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Let me copy that. A student scored 30% and failed by 5 marks. Another student scored 40% and obtained 10 marks more. Find the maximum marks. Okay, so this is a little bit different from our previous questions. A student scored 30% marks and failed by 5. Another student scored 40 and obtained 10 marks more. Okay. So, in this type of question, which is a bit different, we could still come up with answer. First, let's think. A student scores 30% marks and fails by 5. Okay. So, let's imagine here, like, say, so we need to fix a pass mark here. So, let's say 80. The reason this is more of a guess. So, when you take 80 as a pass mark, when he scored 60%, he failed by 5 marks. So, if he scored 75, he still needs 5. Okay. But this answer should be matching the next point. Another student scores 40 and obtain 10 more than passing. So when this becomes 100, this is when 80 is the pass mark, he's not uh, he doesn't need 10 more, he actually needs 20 more. So this shouldn't be the pass mark. So we might have to think of another guess. Okay, so let me take the pass mark as 50. So now 30% he scored and failed by 5 marks. So basically he should have scored 45, which is the 30%, and he still failed by 5. Okay. When he scored 40%, he would have obtained 10 more marks. Sorry, he would have obtained, yes, 10 more marks than the pass mark. So you have to understand, in this pattern, you could very well say 30% he scored and failed by 5. So your 45 is your 30%. So what is your 10% marks then? Which is 15, because you divide it into 3 parts. Okay. So when 10% is 15, your 40% is 60. Yes. So now think, you have guessed like your pass mark is something like 50. You got 60 here, the another student. See, he is exactly 10 more. So you should be very confident that the pass mark should be 50. Okay. So now what they need is find the maximum marks. So we very well know this particular, when we took this as assumption, all the results are matching. So your 30% is 45, your 40% is 60. So you could confidently say your 100% is 150. So let's verify our answer. Yes, so it's 150. So this particular question, yes, it was a bit tricky, but still we were able to manage without any formulas. We were able to come up with the answer. So we will talk about this more in the following videos, like questions like this. Let's move on to our next question. Okay, so our question 4. A candidate scores 25%, fails by 30 marks. Another person scores 50, got 20 marks more. Find the maximum marks. Okay. So this is similar to our previous question. He got 25% and fails by 30 marks. Okay. Right. So let's imagine the pass mark as 80. Okay. Candidate scores 25% and he fails by 30 marks. So if the pass mark is 80, he fails by 30 less, right? So that is 50. So he scored 50 marks. So your 25% is 50, right? So you need to think what is 5%, which is 10. Yeah, this is an important assumption here. Now, you still need to verify whether my guess is correct. Another candidate who scores 50% mark gets 20 more. So, in our assumption here, 25% is 50. So, what is 50%? Which is 100 because it has doubled. So, now we very well know 80 is the pass mark. He scored 100. So how much it is more? It is 20 more. Yes. Now this assumption is exactly what the question has asked. So now in both these patterns, 25% is 50, 50% is 100. You could very well know 5% is 10. So what is your 10%? It's 20, right? So the maximum marks 100% is 200. Let's verify our answer. Yeah, so that is 200. So our next question